I'll just come on for a few minutes to give you a word of encouragement. I love the book of Proverbs. It's a lot of wisdom in there, and it's one of the first books I started reading because I wanted to be wise. I want to make wise decisions. And one of the verses I come across pretty quickly in my early 20s was Proverbs 14, verse 1. And it says, "A wise woman builds her house, but with her own hands a foolish woman tears it down." And that's the NIV version. I wanted to give us women a word of encouragement to make sure we're making the right decisions. I'm not saying that you stay with a man that's being abusive, anything like that. That's not what kind of video this is. But I am saying that, sometimes being wise, we have to build up and encourage and show our husbands, especially those that want to be married for and keep their families together. The number one thing that I learned being married was men love respect. I mean, we love to be loved. We love to be pampered and taken care of for the most part. I mean, every woman's not in a box. I don't believe in putting anybody in a box. But for the most part, that's the difference. Men love to be respected. We love to feel like we or adored, And in order to do that, sometimes you have to back off. Sometimes you have to allow him to lead and allow him to make mistakes because he's a human. And when he make the mistake, don't beat him down. Let him know that you got his back, especially if he's doing all he can to be there for you and the children. My natural personality is just, get back. That's my natural personality. But I learned as I started walking with God that, we can get a whole lot more and accomplish a whole lot more by sometimes just listening. Sometimes allowing them to say what they say. Don't necessarily mean you're going to agree all the time, but allow him to be your man and allow him to lead the family, as the word says. And the other thing is, you have to learn how to allow the relationship to grow. So I was married for 28 years, and the first couple of years was pretty good, but there was some years, about year 3, year 4, I was about sick of them. And there was a period of time when we went through a lot of struggles. And I'm just going to give you full disclosure. He's never hit me. As far as I know, he never cheated on me. Anything like that. But we just couldn't get along. I thought a lot of stuff that he was coming up with was just crazy. I wanted to support him, but to be honest, I just didn't really know how to be submissive because I had so many things that have happened in my childhood, and it was so many triggers there. So first I had to learn how to get myself together and understand that he's not my enemy. But that comes with wisdom. You got to learn how to choose your battles. Everything shouldn't be a battle. Every disagreement shouldn't be a full-fledged argument. You have to learn how to deflate, or what's the better word? You got to learn how to avoid conflict or manage conflict. Because sometimes you can't avoid conflict. Sometimes you can't. I mean, he's a man, you a woman. Sometimes you can't avoid that. That's just the way it is. And I know in my case, he's a man, I'm a woman. Plus, he was in a different generation than me. My husband was older than me. So that had its own unique set of situations. But the thing is, wisdom, knowing when to say something and when not to say something. Sometimes it's just not your turn to talk. Let the man talk. Let him have his say and agree to disagree. Because at the end of the day, most of the things that you're arguing about, most of the things that you're frustrated about are temporal. But your family is not temporal. Once you get 1 or 2 children, maybe 3 or 4, you really need to put aside your feelings. I know it's not popular. Everybody feel like they should be happy. Go look, but he can't make you happy anyway. Happiness is temporal, and it's based on how you feeling at that moment. And happiness is not really real. If you have joy, and that comes from on the inside. The only person that can fulfill everything that you need is Jesus Christ, not your husband. I think sometimes and men have their issues, but this is not a video to them right now. This is a video to women, in particular Christian women, who wants to keep their families together. Sometimes you just gotta let things be. You don't have to speak on everything. It's the way God designed it. One man, one woman, forsake all others. And that's another thing. Wisdom is, sometimes you gotta learn how to not tell your best friend everything that's going on in your marriage. Your mom, your dad. You gotta learn how to truly forsake all others and cleave to each other. Me personally, even when we were having financial problems, I didn't go to my dad for money. And I'm not saying whether you should or shouldn't, but I just wanted him to realize that I respected and I trusted him, even though sometimes it was some decisions that is the reason why we were having it. He made some decisions with reason why we were having those financial struggles. But I still wanted him to know that I trusted him to get us out of the situation by the help of God. That's how you build trust, and that's how you build relationships. Every time something goes wrong, again, I'm not saying stay in something where somebody's, calling you out your name, beating you up, cheating on you. We're not talking about that. We're talking about, I am talking about somebody that shows in every way that they really love you, but maybe they just don't know, or they haven't grown to the place of maturity that you need as for a leader. But the thing is, we have to grow. And so we have to, if we want grace from God, we must realize that we should give our husbands grace. And we should understand that if we get married, for instance, I got married at 21. Now, my husband was older. He had already been married before. But in that marriage, he was young. And his first wife was real young. And, you know, I don't think she was a bad person. I don't, I think the marriage didn't work because of both people. I don't think, me personally, I don't feel like one person just totally destroys a marriage. Sometimes, first of all, being a wise woman, you have to set your boundaries from the beginning. So when you're setting your boundaries, you got to do that stuff before you start having sex with the man, because once that's feeling good or whatever, and we're just talking real talk. We haven't all been saved. This is not an advocate for premarital sex. This is just part of true life. We don't come here saved. We learn to live holy day by day. So getting back to what I was finna say, the first thing in being wise is setting your boundaries up front. So number one, you don't just give your body up, the first 2-3 nights, because I know people today think sex isn't anything, but once you give your body to somebody, as a woman, especially a decent woman, especially a Christian woman, you are attached to that person, whether you want to be or not. You want that person to like you. You see the best that you see at first. You see all the best. How good he made you feel, what he said, how he made you laugh. You see all those things. So the red flags that should be going up, you don't see. You do not see no red flags once you first start having sex with a man. So therefore, you are not setting your boundaries the way you're supposed to be. You should be telling them what is your I'm out of here card. What is something? This is my bar. You do this, there's no going back. And for me, I told my husband up front when we that I was not going to be called out my name. I was not going to be hit. And if I ever found out he was cheating, those were the 3 things that I was just not going to put up with. Now, I put up with a lot of things over the years, I must say. I think in a relationship, both people are going to put up with stuff because that's just a part of life. You 2 people come from 2 different backgrounds. I came from, for lack of a better word, total dysfunction. But he came from dysfunction differently from my dysfunction. And that's for another story. That's for another video at another time. But the thing is, if you want to break generational curses, if you want to have a family that look like what the Bible says it should look like, you have to learn how to get along with somebody. Yeah, I'm not saying you got to put up with everything, but you're going to put up with something. And if a man is working, he may not be making the full amount of money that you would desire, but if that man is doing everything he can to provide you a roof over your head, he shows you that he loves you, he talks to you, he treats you like you the most beautiful woman in the world. He gives you your space when you need it. He don't try to crowd you out, but at the same time, he's spending as much time as he can with you. If he's bringing that paycheck home like he's supposed to, whatever it is, if he's spending time with the children, like quality time, like teaching your sons what it is to be a man, if he still open up the car door for you, if he still Um, if he still tell you he love you before he leave out the door, if he still, like my husband, he used to give me a peck on my forehead. That was a thing that he did all the time. So if he's, the things that he used to do, if he's still doing those, then the petty things, they don't count. If the good outweighs the bad, the petty things don't count. But I'm gonna tell you, there's gonna be a period, a time. If you stay married for any length of time, there's gonna be a time in your marriage where you're not gonna like him. That's just the way it is. I don't know why it's that way, but I think it's just a human thing. Honestly, it was about 10 years in my marriage when I didn't like him. But I like the father that he was to my children. You know what I'm saying? I like the fact that he went to work every day. And I like the fact that, yeah, he might have got on my nerves because, a lot of women, you think you want your husband to talk, but then some things that he's going to tell you, you might not be ready for. So be careful what you wish for. Like my husband, I ain't have to worry about what was on his mind. He would tell me what was on his mind. It was probably the opposite in our relationship. Because I don't really like conflict. So by the time I really start telling you something, you really need to know. And that was something I had to grow out of because that's not mature. I need to let you know up front. Like I knew to set my boundaries up front. And I met those boundaries. Now you gotta mean what you say. We're talking about being wise right now. If he loses his job, those vows say for better or worse, in sickness and health, for rich or for poor. And that's what I did, and that's what he did. I remember a time he broke his ankle, and because his blood pressure was, well, during the time he broke his ankle, he was over 50 years old. So, when you're that age, you don't heal up as fast. I know the 50 is the new 40 and all that stuff, but once you turn 50, 55 in that age group, you don't heal up as fast as you did when you were 25. And so it took longer for him to heal up, but then he was out of work for almost a year because his doctor couldn't get his blood pressure down. And so I remember working a whole lot of overtime. But I did those things to help sustain our marriage, our home, our family, because those are the things that he did when he was up and well. And after he finally got back to work, he did those things again. You can't be with somebody just when things are good. That's not marriage. That's not realistic. And it's not fair, because if you get where you can't be what you first were when y'all first got together, then you're going to want him to still love you and still support you. You're going to want him to take you to those doctor's appointments. You're going to want him to rub your back or rub your legs or whatever it is. In other words, you're going to want him to still love you. And that's what we have to realize, that a wife is a helpmate in every sense. And not just when it's good, but when it's bad. And again, I'm going to keep saying this. I'm not talking about you stay there to death do you part and let somebody beat you up. To death do you part mean, if they get sick or if they have a car wreck or, something like that. Natural or disastrous thing. If there's a tornado or something, they get killed in a tornado. Or, like I said, if they get cancer, terminal ill. Like in my husband's case, it was heart disease. And that's for another video as well. But I just want to encourage you, long story short, I just want to encourage you, really to be wise. And if you have an argument and you realize you're wrong, go back and apologize. And you can even apologize even if you are right, because it don't matter if you're right if you didn't handle the situation correctly. If you yelled at him, if you talked about his mama and you did all this crazy stuff, you got mad and you and I hope the saints not doing this, but if you got mad and you threw a brick in his window, apologize for that stuff and don't do that craziness no more. Because this is the thing. You just causing you're going to go back and you're going to do this crazy stuff, then you're going to go back with him, you're going to make up, and you got to help him fix that windshield, or help him get those new tires that you didn't. Don't do that crazy stuff. But anyway, I just wanted to come on and encourage us as women to be realistic in what we're looking for. Be upfront with our expectations, and be wise. Have some kindness when you're talking to your spouse, because when you at work, or when you with your friends, or when you know, some other man tell you how pretty you are, you're kind. Be kind to the one that's paying your bills, that gave you the babies, or that you're trying to have babies with, and just be the helpmate that you were created to be. So be blessed. I'm out. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, subscribe, like, subscribe, and share. Be blessed. I'm out.